Great. Thanks everybody for joining us for the 11 o'clock session here of Pinpoint. Today we have Mike Allen, John Hickey, and Mark Hansen from Marketing, Customer Success, and Sales with us. And we'll have them share some of their expertise, what they've seen, what they've experienced. I'm happy to turn the time over to, I believe, John Hickey is going to kick us off, one of our senior product marketing managers.
Okay, great. Thanks, Andrew. Before we get started, an important question. How do you spell hijinks?
I spell it high and then jinx.
Jinx?
Sure. You know what? I'll accept anything that looks somewhat like hijinks.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everybody, for joining. This session, we're going to focus on using your address data to drive business results. One moment. We'd like to start with a poll. What are you using clean address data for? And
I have launched that up on y'all's screen. You should be able to just click right there.
Yeah, this is multi-select. Select all that apply. And we'll try and share the results with you right now. Please take a moment and complete the poll.
Good news. One person has participated. 2 people have participated in the poll. 5. Oh my gosh. Okay, I shouldn't have started listing it. They're filling it out. All right, we're at about 70% have participated. I'll go ahead and close that out. Do you want me to show the results, John?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's those results. So the top is for data cleanliness for sure. And then we've got some mailing shipping is big, and auto-completing on forms is also pretty big, and then quite a spread after that.
Yeah, so that list that you were selecting from was very long, but it could have been a lot longer. And as you can see here in the results, there are a lot of use cases for address data. So the focus of this session is to go through some of those use cases. You know, one thing that we see is, particularly with large customers that come to Smarty, is there'll be a department who comes to Smarty and they have a specific use case for clean address data. And they use that within their department, but it stays in a silo. And the rest of the organization could really benefit from all these different use cases you have for clean data. So we're going to try to shed some light on that and generate some ideas for you on additional ways you can be using the data that you get from Smarty to move your business forward. Okay, so yeah, I kind of covered this. You're getting value if you're using us. Can you get more? Are you aware of all the possibilities? Anything hiding in plain sight? And we're hoping to uncover that for you in this session. So we've divided the session into 3 sections. There are 3 presenters. Mike will be presenting the first section that will share 5 case studies. We share these with you with the permission of our customers, but that is just to spur some ideas regarding different ways, different parts of your organization might be able to benefit from the service you're currently using from Smarty, or if you're not a customer yet, what you're evaluating and how you can utilize that. The next session, I'm going to talk about the metadata you're getting with your address verification and geocoding results. I'm going to introduce you to some metadata that you may not be familiar with and show you a few ways that you can leverage that to move your business forward. And then finally, Mark's going to talk about some of the data sets that Smarty has, ideas, tips, and tricks on ways you can leverage that to move your business forward. I'll turn it over to you, Mike.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone and to talk a little bit more about how some of our partners and customers are using Smarty. And hopefully this is something that you can take from. John, if you want to go to the next slide, we're going to go over a couple different clients that kind of spread the different verticals, and some of their goals looks familiar and some of them look a little bit different on how we're using the tools. You can go to the next slide, John. I want to talk about Fabletics. I don't know if any of you are comfortable with the nice, comfortable clothing that comes with Fabletics, but they have some really good clothing that you can check out. They came to us with with a problem that happened to be in their shopping cart, where they felt like they were having a lot of customers adding products and things that they wanted to purchase into their cart, but before they would buy, they would leave, and so they would leave and have these abandoned carts. And they came to us, and they felt like the problem was that people were having issues with putting in their address information. It was too tricky, and maybe it took too much time, and anyways, they would leave. So they came to us and wanted to solve that checkout abandonment issue. And so we came to came to the table with the solution of address autocomplete. So we were able to install that for them. I don't know if you've gone through a checkout process before and added in. If you start typing in your address into your address field, the autocomplete will go through it and it will autocomplete the address. So you type in the first couple digits, the rest of the address will pop up. It'll fill in all those fields for you. Makes the checkout process really easy. And so they utilized us for that and saw a massive bump in their conversion rates, and especially internationally, where they saw a 15% boost, which was huge for them. This Hippo is something that a lot of us probably utilize, the homeowners insurance policy. This is something that everyone needs to have. And as the insurance provider, Hippo wanted to make sure that as they're looking at these properties that people need to ensure that they are taking into consideration all of the risks that come with insuring that type of a property. So they came to Smarty looking for exact information about the property data that they could try and figure out before they insure. That also gives the customer additional insight into what they're going to purchase. So we have a solution called rooftop-level geocoding, which really lets us get involved with where the property is located. It helps us determine where that is going to be and the risks that are associated. So with, if they're in an area that's prone to fires or to storms or earthquakes, we can provide them with that geocoding information that is precise and accurate, which is able to give Hippo the confidence that they needed in providing that information to their customers. Highlandertek, this is a fun one. Has anyone in here ever ordered a package and then just not seen the package show up?
I have,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure. This is a pain point, right? So, if the company can't find your address, it makes it really difficult to deliver the package that we want, or that we've ordered online. Whether you're a business or whether you're a homeowner, if you're looking for something, if there's a misspelling or something along the, as you've plugged in an address that you feel like is similar to what you've got, but the company doesn't have that information, it can get tricky to get the package to your home or to your business. And so Highlandertek came to us. They were looking for a solution to inadequate location data. We provide them with address validation. We went through and cleaned up all the misspellings for them, and provided them with secondary addresses in the cases where they needed it. And in doing so, those unknown addresses decreased 22%, which was a huge value to their business. Maven One, this is a fun one. These guys go through and they provide, essentially help you find a doctor. They have a database of doctors that and health providers that can help people when they need the help. Their legacy system needed updating, and so we were able to go through and help them. Again, using that address validation to make sure that they had all of the metadata that was the data to be validated. We took care of that for them with our address validation, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Those metadata points in John's presentation. But again, this provided them with additional confidence in their directories. Lightstream, this is one. This is also another one of those fun ones. If you ever schedule an appointment with a provider and they've given you a range of hours where they'll be there, they say they're going to show up from 11 to 2. If you have to take time off of work to be at home to make sure that those providers can come in. And if they don't show up, that's such a hassle for you, right? You planned on being out of work from 11 to 2 and they don't show up until 3. It can be a pain for you and also for the business. Lightstream is a telecommunication company, and they specialize in some of those on-site visits. However, if they don't have the right type of address data, getting their technicians on site can be tricky for both of them because it's time consuming, and also for the end user, it's costly, and if they're working on a tight schedule. So they came to us with a list of addresses. We were able to use our US Street API cleansing service and clean up their data for them, make sure that they had the correct addresses for the people that they're trying to go out and visit. And in doing so, we saw that 10 to 15% of addresses needed to be cleansed from the list that they were using. Um, that's a big deal. That helps their technicians get on site quicker and faster, and of course provides the customers with the expectations that they were told to have. There are a lot more case studies out there. So if you want to learn more about what some of our customers are doing, there's a link inside of this presentation. We'll provide that for you. So you can go through and you can learn more about the ones that we've talked about, but also additional case studies that might be more relevant to the things that you're doing with your business. But thank you for your time. Pass it over to John.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
All right. Section 2. For those of you using US address verification or rooftop geocoding, you're already getting metadata. This is the next section will introduce you to some of that metadata that you may not be familiar with and talk about how to leverage that. All right, let's start this section with a poll. Are you using metadata for more than just validating an address? This is a yes or no poll. And what I mean by that is, for example, yes, all of you using metadata to determine the validity of an address, but are you using it beyond that? For example, do you look at the residential delivery indicator to see which addresses are commercial so that you can cut the amount you spend on shipping? Are you utilizing the geocoordinates we return to do geospatial analysis? So that's the kind of thing I mean, beyond just validating the address.
I would expect there to be more yeses than I'm seeing as people are completing this, just because in the beginning we said, how are you using addresses? And while yes, there were a lot of people saying to check the validity of an address, right? We also had some shipping and logistics in there. But I would expect that the yeses are people saying, well, I'm also looking at that metadata, or well, I'm also trying to see the general area, like what counties I'm working in the most, or this kind of data. But it looks like we're only at about 45% of those who are attending have voted, so the data will be a little bit skewed. Of course, the data is already going to be skewed. We only get data from people who are willing to fill out polls. So right there, you already have a subset of your data requests. Okay, I'll count to 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, this is wild, John, because it's a perfect 50-50 split.
Oh, okay, nice. All right. So if your cup's half full or half empty, it doesn't matter because we're at a 50-50 split. So the good news is I know I've got some stuff that may be able to help half of you. And I may have some stuff that will help even those of you who say you are doing it. We'll see. We'll see at the end of this presentation. So one more poll. For those of you who are using address metadata for more than beyond just validating an address, what are you using it for? This is an open-ended question. We'll give you 30 seconds.
That's how long it's going to take me to think of what I'm using metadata for.
Could be, yeah. We'll see how this works.
John mentioned a couple. Maybe we can get the juices flowing for you while you may or may not be entering in these questions. So RDI is one big one. We're figuring out if an address is residential versus commercial, figuring out if a building is vacant or if it is being lived in. That's another big one. The postal route could be a big one for some people. Are they at the beginning or the end of the postal route? Is this person likely to receive their package at the start of the day versus the end of the day? I know that there's like court jurisdictions. What judge am I likely to get that's going to side with me as opposed to this person or whoever? There's a lot of different metadata points that you can pull.
Yeah, a few others are like for marketing, segmenting your database by city, state, zip, congressional district, etc. Are you using the delivery point barcode to generate the intelligent mail barcode, which gives you discounts? That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
All right, we only have a couple. I'll close it out in 5. Type fast. 4, 3. Type faster than Mark. 2, 1. Okay. I'll put together some data for you.
Okay. All right, great. Let's just move on then. To start this section off, I just wanted to share a story. Maybe you've heard this story before. It's about a man traveling from Europe to the United States a long time ago. He traveled by boat. He couldn't afford to pay for meals while on board, so he packed a suitcase full of crackers and peanut butter and subsisted on that the entire time. On the very last day of the cruise, as they're approaching New York, a crew member asked him why he never showed up for his meals. And he said, well, he couldn't afford it. And to which the crew member replied, but sir, the meals were included in your fare. So we are concerned here at Smarty that our customers are living below their means when it comes to data. And we're concerned that many of our customers cruise on basic validation data, eating crackers, while a full buffet of metadata is included. Things like the RDI, we've talked about that, latitude, longitude, carrier route, county name or FIPS, and vacancy status. So what we're inviting you to do is not settle for crackers, eat the buffet, leverage your metadata. So Andrew, any results before we jump in?
Yeah, some of the biggest words, with a word cloud based off of the submissions we have. The biggest one are standardization, vacancy, and deduplication. I'm also seeing some secondary large words: patient, record, finding, counting. One person, oh, I guess deduplication should be bigger because there was deduplication and also dedupe and also dupes. So, I mean, that's a very common one. Massive amounts of duplicate records, I guess, could really cost you money if you're sending out mailers and you're going to send one to the same address 4 times in 4 different ways.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about most of those. So cool. So metadata, if you're using Smarty's US address verification or rooftop geocoding, you are being returned with your validation results up to 55 points of metadata. And I want to emphasize up to. You're not going to get all 55 data points for an address. That would be unusual because our data sources are not 100% complete. Nevertheless, when I checked my own address, I think there were around 35 of the 55 data points returned. Those of you using Smarty, you can just analyze your results to see how many data points you're getting. Those of you who may be evaluating Smarty can utilize a free trial to sample your database and see what that looks like for you. But there are many ways to categorize these data points, and we put together 4 here for you to look at. Well, the first one is address structure and delivery information. So Smarty will parse the address into every component and return the component to you in its own field. Of course, there's address verification and delivery readiness. Not going to go through all these metadata points right now, but we will cover many of them in the next few slides. There's also metadata related to location and geography, and finally, metadata that talks or addresses identity, persistence, and input. So let's get into it. The first way that your metadata can help you is through mailing and shipping. And the United States Postal Service offers postage discounts and tracking information if you provide them with the intelligent mail barcode. So if you look at the far right here, you've got an envelope that's addressed and a red arrow pointing at the intelligent mail barcode. You've all seen it. It's 65 bars long, and that barcode is generated from a 30-digit number. If you look at the blue box, this is the delivery point barcode that is delivered in your metadata when you verify an address. So the components of the delivery point barcode are a 5-digit zip code, the +4 part of that zip code, and a 2-digit delivery point, which is often just the last 2 digits of the house number, but not always. Anyhow, with those 11 digits, any mailer can easily compile the rest of the intelligent mail barcode, or 19 additional numbers. And those are numbers that represent, your mailer ID that you would get from the post office, as well as the type of mail, etc. Anyway, that's available to you. You can build that and start saving that way. Also, for those of you shipping packages, you can optimize the amount you're paying with the residential delivery indicator, the RDI, which again tells you whether the address is residential or commercial. And carriers like UPS and FedEx, they charge less if you're delivering to a commercial property than a residential. And so you'll want to be able to know which is which so that you can reduce your shipping costs or take advantage of the shipping savings for commercial. And then finally, marketing departments are sending out email notifications frequently, and we provide you with the time zone, UTC offset, and daylight savings time with your address verification and geocoding results. And this is, in marketing, there's studies done for the best time to send email, to optimize your open rate. And I believe one of those sweet spots is like 9 a.m. So it can help to know which time zone your customers are in if you're doing a lot of emailing. Okay. Another use case for metadata is fraud detection. We kind of mentioned this before. Andrew mentioned that we return the vacancy status of each address. You've got this house here that's all boarded up. One fraud scheme is that a next door neighbor notices this, and they have things shipped to this vacant house as part of many different types of fraud schemes. So by knowing which addresses are vacant, if you're sending out something that's highly valuable or costly, maybe it makes sense for you to do manual investigation on every address that's flagged as vacant. We return to you the CMRA, which I believe stands for the Commercial Mail Receiving Agency. And this is a place like the UPS store where you can get a private mailbox. Instead of going to the United States Postal Service and getting a post office box there, you can get your mail at a CMRA. I only mention this because CMRAs are often used in fraudulent schemes. And so again, depending on the value of something that you may be sending out or doing in your business operations, you may want to flag CMRA addresses for further manual inspection. Again, we return time zones. If somebody's IP address is in a different time zone than their stated physical address, maybe that's a flag you want to look at. And then RDI, again, is it residential or commercial? An example might be you're sending a $10,000 piece of medical equipment, and you want to flag every residence because that would be an unexpected place to ship something of that nature.
I'd also be concerned if the house pictured here had a commercial designator.
Yes, yes.
And maybe Breaking Bad business, sure. But
geospatial analysis, mapping is another use case for the metadata that you're getting. Territory planning, audience segmentation, reporting. One thing I want to be clear about is I've listed up here at the top of the slide in bold zip9. If you're using Smarty's US address verification, we return to you latitude and longitude at the zip9 precision level. What is a zip9? It's a section of a street that's typically between 2 to 20 houses, and the zip9 latitude longitude would be the centroid of that area. And so there are use cases where you don't need precise rooftop geocodes, and perhaps territory like sales territory planning might be one of those use cases. However, if you are like doing delivering things, like let's say, again, go back to medical, you're delivering and installing medical device to a suite in a hospital. Well, the hospital complex is massive. But with rooftop precision geocodes, you will get the geo coordinates for this precise suite that installation's happening in. So there are different use cases. We offer US rooftop geocoding as our most precise roof geo coordinates if those are needed. But if they're not, you're already getting zip 9 level latitude and longitude, and there are use cases for that you may find helpful in your business. Another way that metadata may help your business move forward is your marketing department often does segmentation and targeting. There are many ways to do that with the metadata you get. Again, we parse city, state, and zip and return that to you. Those are common segmentation and targeting schemes by marketing. Is the property residential or commercial? We give you the RDI. We send you county name and county FIPS code, congressional district, again, latitude and longitude for mapping geographical analysis and segmenting that way. You can map, we have a plugin with mapping software called QGIS. It's freeware. So you could take all these coordinates that you have for your addresses and map them, and you can highlight things like, is this a resident? Show me all the residential versus commercial customers that I have, show me all the vacant properties within my thing. You can do all this kind of geospatial analysis. So very valuable, very powerful for some businesses. And then we mentioned time zone, and that's one way to segment and target as well. Data management is one of the most common use cases for address verification. And in our poll at the beginning, I think we saw data cleanliness. I think it was called that. Data cleanliness was by far the most common use case for address verification. And within data management, there's data blending. And we help you by returning with every address verification result a Smarty key for each address. A Smarty key is a 10-digit integer. It's randomly generated. You cannot reverse engineer it into personally identifiable address data. It's unique to the address and it is persistent. It never changes despite underlying changes to the address. So, for example, if you look at this little image on the right, in 2008, there was this property that was 168 Sullivan Street, but the next year the street name was changed to Fantastics Lane. Both aliases share the exact same Smarty key. And that's true of any alias for a property, any address alias. So what this does is it makes identifying duplicates in your database very easy. You're just matching up or looking at the multiple instances of the same Smarty key. Smarty key is also really handy for merging third-party data. So you have your own database that you've run through address verification. Every address has a Smarty key. Then you've got the third-party data set on the other side, and you run that through address verification. And now every one of those addresses has a Smarty key. Now merging the data becomes very easy and very accurate. Another thing we help with is results matching. Those of you who have done the integrations with Smarty are probably aware of this. But you can provide, you as the client of Smarty, an input ID that is unique to every address you submit to help match results on the back end after the verification. And this can include things like customer ID, CRM key, or row number, etc., whatever you want to provide. If you don't provide an input ID, Smarty automatically generates an input index and we'll assign starting with your first address, number 1, incrementing by 1 for all the addresses that you submit. to help matching up your results easier as well. And then there's this thing called candidate index. So in your databases, you're going to be dealing with ambiguous addresses like 1 Rosedale Street, which doesn't validate. However, 1 North Rosedale is valid and 1 South Rosedale is valid. Because we don't know which one is meant here, we will increment your candidate index to be 2, and then we will tie your candidates to the input index so that you can manually look at that, contact the customer and say, hey, did you mean 1 North or 1 South? Or you could do that in real time as they're entering their address online. Operations. There are a number of operations that can be improved with the metadata that you get. You can customize and fine-tune your operations. The finer level of detail that we can give you, the greater flexibility and control you have over customizing your operations. So over the past month, we're really excited to release a new feature called component analysis. And I'll explain that with the example on the right. If you look at the input address, you can see in red the elements that are either non-standardized, non-normalized, or incorrect. And then the verified result down below. Well, with component analysis, we're going to parse every component of that address. And we're going to tell you whether that component was confirmed, unconfirmed, or missing. And then if we change something to verify or to correct it based on our algorithm that suggests that you meant this, we're going to tell you what changed for each component. Was it abbreviated? Did we change the spelling? Did we replace something? Did we add something? So that's component analysis, and maybe you've got operations. We have a few customers that we're not allowed to share their use case, but a few customers who use this to determine whether they're going to send mail or not. And whatever your operations are, the greater granularity of information you have, the greater control you have over your operations and your business decisions that make sense for your business. Tax calculations, a lot of frequently taxes are based on county, so we return again county name and FIPS code. And we talked about route planning and delivering latitude, longitude at the zip 9 level for US address verification. Maybe that's enough for you. If not, our rooftop geocoordinates are available in our US address or US rooftop geocoding product. Reporting and compliance. We also have metadata that helps you with that. And we've kind of talked about these as well. Some people have to map out and demonstrate that they're serving a population like people in telecom and healthcare. They have to comply with serving a certain percent of the population, and so they can map this out to demonstrate that. Congressional district, a lot of people have to report or during election time of year want to report by congressional district. County name, again, the zip 4 level, some people need that level of granularity for reporting. And then again, we parse city and state, and that's often regions that require reporting. Well, that's all I have on metadata. I hope it spurred some ideas and some ways that other parts of your organization might benefit from what you're already receiving with US address verification and geocoding results. If you want to learn more about that, we provide a couple links here for you. And then, of course, don't want to leave without one more poll. So now that we've introduced some of the metadata in ways that you can leverage that, besides using the metadata just for validation, like your DPV footnotes, what metadata that we've introduced you to seems most useful to you moving forward? Andrew just posted the poll. Hopefully you see that. This is a multi-select. Select all that you think you might be able to get some business value out of.
We're going to see how concerned people are with fraud, I guess. Actually, I'd imagine most people are concerned with fraud, right? Raise your hand if you're not concerned with fraud.
Fraud's only getting worse.
That's very true. About 45% have participated in this poll. We'll wait a little bit longer for that number to get higher. Our very first poll had 70% activity. So
Nice.
people are less likely to click on a poll 38 minutes into a session. That's what I'm learning from this poll. This poll is
Nice.
showing me that polling is polling lower when polled 38 minutes after the hour.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you guys 5 more seconds. Last chance to participate. There are a lot of options to like read through. All right, here we go. Here's those results, John. Looks like number 1 is Smarty Key, and number 2 is going to be somewhere around component analysis. Yep. And then a good mix of county name and latitude and longitude after that.
Well, that's great. I love that. Thanks very much for answering that poll. That helps us as well here at Smarty. So that's great. Thanks so much. I've taken too much time, so let's roll over into Mark's session. Go ahead, Mark.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Andrew. I'm just going to be doing a steady line of polls for the next, I think, 30 minutes, right? That's what you wanted, Andrew?
That's that. Yep.
Okay, there we go. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to be really quick, but what I'm going to be going over, I hope, is something that you can kind of open your mind to a little bit. I'm convinced throughout I get the great opportunity to talk to some great brands and great folks every day, and then through different conferences and things here, really understand different innovating ideas people are using around address data, different ways that they're using it to move the business. I'm going to go over 3 of those. My hope is that even if these don't necessarily touch you specifically, because this is what I fear the danger is with address data, is that folks are using it for their simplistic use case, and then they close the doors and they're done with it. Whereas you could be making a lot of really good friends within your organization by letting them know that you also have access to a lot of meaningful information. So I'm going to give you a few examples, and you can go to the next slide. So again, like I said, we talked about metadata, but there's more. And like I said, I'm convinced that address data is being very underutilized. So the question is, what else can I learn about address data? And the cool thing is that everyone has address data. You know, I went to a recent retail conference, and I mean, every client is going to have an address data. What else can we get from it? And this next use case, which you can go ahead and advance to the next slide, is a fun one. A lot of these have to do with finding hidden relationships. Again, you don't need to be a data expert here. I'm literally just talking about using those interesting data points that I'm going to introduce to you here on the next slide that aren't like a standard use case, and seeing what relationships you can get out of it that actually mean something. So one of the country's largest electronic distributors uses product-specific address data and our property attributes to more effectively market their product. And we're going to go into that specific one here on the next slide. So this is introducing there's metadata, and then there's property data attributes. Our property data attributes include things like you're seeing here in white on the slide. Things like property structure attributes, things like what is the roof made out of, or what are the walls made of, square footage of the structure. Financial attributes can go back as far as, say, what did this house sell for last time paper crossed the property? Detailed mortgage information, a current market value, those types of things. And then you also have property location attribute like tax information, structure, elevation, street facing, square footage. So these are all things that folks can use to learn a little bit more about their customer. But with this use case, these guys wanted to know who's buying this TV. We're having a hard time pinpointing a really targeted ad for this. Let's figure out who really is buying this TV, because they have all the data. They have all the data from an address perspective. What they found is that it's not exactly what they thought. A few interesting components popped up. One was this specific TV was a lot more popular with homes within a certain square footage or a home value. or a rental property over owning a home. Renters like to buy this TV. So even if that's not your bag, this is something that you can make a really good friend with in the marketing team to go over and be like, hey, would you like to find some hidden relationships with data we have on everybody? So I like that example. We can go to the next slide too, and it's going to be another one where we're finding these hidden relationships, right? And again, you don't need to be a data analyst to understand these beforehand. I'm talking about literally presenting it on your clients for a specific reason and seeing what pops up. So in this one, we'll see a large healthcare company use location data to build predictive models around potential public health concerns. Go on to the next slide and you'll see a little bit more what I'm talking about. So again, we're finding those hidden relationships, but with these, this medical company was using medical records and why people are coming into the hospital or doctor's office and matching it with events, local events that have happened, whether it's a gas leak or bad pollution issues or whatever. And they can start being a lot more predictive to be like, guess what? We had a huge spike in this illness. It might have something to do with X, or Y that happened during the exact same time. And so we can know in the future how to better prepare for it. One example here would be a high concentration of lung cancer patients due to air quality issues. And that specifically is with higher elevation housing in heavy traffic areas. So they're able to get a lot more information just off of public information you already have. Go to the last one here for you. So again, another hidden relationship opportunity here, but one of the largest commercial cleaning companies in the US leverages physical property attributes to market to their sweet spot. I would imagine if you go talk to your marketing team right now, or your product team, they're gonna feel like they have a pretty good handle on who their customer is. And they'll go out and buy lead lists or however they want to do that to be able to try to pinpoint exactly what their sweet spot is. But if you go to the next slide, you can see how these guys really leverage data they already had that was literally just sitting in their hills waiting to be pulled out. Their main thing was that general lead lists were a waste of time for them because they're not able to filter according to certain ideal client attributes, such as, is this a commercial or residential building, the building size, the building materials, where is this located in proximity to water, how does it affect different cleaning products or processes that are offered. So hopefully that can help you kind of get the juices flowing on a little bit of outside the box thinking of, guys, we have addresses. Why not use them for a lot more data and a lot more insights than we currently are? And that's really where these examples come from. So hopefully that was helpful. But that's all I've got for you with mine.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, John. Thanks, Mike. Any closing thought? Anything?
No.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mike, for presenting. We don't have any other questions, but we'll see you in the next session.